Greetings viewers, welcome to another Evil strategy session. I am Evil. Today I would like to look at the basics of a choke point. As you can see, this is our standard 3v3 map, Arakan Citadel. It's the only 3v3 map we have, and of course patch 13, so right now I have no black mini-map, so this will be a short strategy session. At the beginning we have Evil, Schmunkle, and Hunting facing off against Will, Checkers, and Ignaras. And if I mispronounce any names, I apologize. A quick look at the minerals. We have basically 440 minerals per minute for the Evil, Schmunkle, and Hunting team. We have 380 minerals on average for Will, Checkers, and Ignaras. At this point, it's 3 minutes 10 seconds into the game. I will tell you that there are Zerglings coming this direction from the north, and we have absolutely no wall off whatsoever on the left-hand side. And being Zerg over here, we have no wall off, but at least we do have a scout for Checkers. A couple of things to point out on this 3v3 map. This is an excellent choke point. I, as Protoss, have walled this off. I've seen it walled off better than I've done it. But as a Terran, this is an easy wall off. And over here we have Will, who has not walled anything off here. He has chosen to build close to his base. Something I would like to point out is these statues are no longer destructible. I have tried. This would be an excellent place for a siege tank, but unfortunately Blizzard has seen has seen through that possibility, so that is no longer possible. This choke point right here could be easily defended with several supply depots and then perhaps some marines on the high ground. Another trick that I have used is to put a pylon roughly in this area and put up several cannons just to start drilling down on anything that comes through. But you've got to have something here to at least slow the opponent down. I'm going to go ahead and get started on here, and in about 7 to 8 seconds we should see Schmunkle's Zerglings come through. I'm going to get rid of this income monitor, check resources real quick. I don't see any mass excess of resources, so we're doing pretty good. Here comes Schmunkle's Zerglings. We have a total of 6 Zerglings going to come wandering right on through. And I do not see any troops for Will. Schmunkle has learned to not necessarily make a rush for the SCVs. Instead, he goes for a supply lock here, which is an excellent choice. If you knock out a supply, then there is absolutely nothing Will can do here until he builds another supply depot. So that puts him down. Will does get some help from his buddies over here. He's got Ignaras and Checkers bringing in some help. Fights everything back. Will is not necessarily hurting for minerals. He's got to build another supply depot anyway. Why not build another supply depot right here, or at least in the middle, just to start to block things off? I understand the point of, he might be concerned that it could get blown up and destroyed, but really at that point, if you've got your backup buddies are going to stick around, that's not a bad idea. Another thing I will warn people, I've seen quite frequently, is when a wall off occurs on the right hand side, if you just go visually and don't push your supply depot as far down as possible, you actually end up with a slight hole that Zerglings and Zealots can sneak through. So be sure when you wall off at least the eastern side on the south, and I believe it's the western side in the north, be sure to check out here. We've got some destructible rocks being attacked here. And given that this is still a wide open hole and that there may or may not be troops, there actually are, you might want to just bring them over here, at least attack these rocks, so they can whip right around and shoot anything that comes in. Maybe chase off those zealots, maybe at least do some damage and whatnot. I'm going to crank up the speed here a little bit, see what else we can get going. There's some flirting around on the edges. If I had my mini-map, I'd love to move around, but I don't, so I'm a bit gun-shy in that respect. Again, listen to this. I mean, he has a ton of Marines over here. 9 some odd Marines hitting up those destructible rocks. They should be over here, just based on the fact that this is where we were last attacked. Here comes Evil's attack. One more thing I would like to pause and point out is that Evil is using a hotkey. So Evil can quickly control his group. He can look away and control it. Schmunkle is not using hotkeys. Will is not using hotkeys. Checkers is not using hotkeys. Ignarius is using hotkeys, but only for 2 of his Marines. So if he has to pull them all off, he has to take precious seconds off, go to where his Marines or his Zerglings or whomever may be are, and bring them on down. If you're hotkeyed, you can immediately move them past. Back to the action. sneaks in. I'm going to slow down and check Will's harvester, starting off with 15. In about 10 seconds, he's down to 4. Will does a smart thing, realizes his command center is about to be destroyed, lifts it off. Evil and Schmunkle have no ranged units, only melee, so it's a safe bet to hop up there. Alright, and since I promised we'd talk about early expansions, here's Ignaris putting up an early expansion. Being Terran player, there's no reason that he had to have his Marines here in the first place. A good guard would have been much more effective use. He could have planted this supply center, or excuse me, command center up here, or been up here. Would have done some good, given him some side out to the side. Could have planted somebody close to the Zelnaga Tower, and he still could have harvested. Even better, he could have eventually lifted off that command center and let it on down. Again, this is the Let's Sing the I Hate Patch 13 song, because we have some major lag going on. Evil and Schmunkle moving in. Evil stops to take care of the troops here for any backup that may be coming. I can't recall what is or isn't coming. Hunting bringing in some troops. Always good to get backup from your pals. Checking the harvester count. We still have 4 harvesters for Will here. In terms of resources, Will is just barely squeaking by. Checkers has an excess of minerals at this point. Same thing with Schmunkle. I know Schmunkle's saving up just because we're talking on Skype as we're playing. I don't know what Checkers is doing in this case. Will's command center begins to burn down. Really needs to fix that in one way or the other. Another attack moving in. Again, I apologize for the jerky nature. There's a question as to whether or not sending in piecemeal attacks is a good idea. And it totally depends on whether or not you're following up on a previous attack or whether you're initiating a beginning attack. If you're following up, continue to keep the pressure on. If you are beginning attack, the more the merrier. At this point, I will crank the speed far up. My main purpose was to show you choke point would be helpful. Early expansion, when you're Terran at least, can be done differently. If you early expand up here with Zerg, you will block off your fellow players. So Terrans, think of it this way: if you're going to attack these destructible rocks, attack from a little bit closer off to this side, so maybe you can get some downward angle. The slaughter begins. Will has to move away. Now that we have some ranged units in here, it's lifting off alone is not going to cut it. We'll make out 1 point here. The extra supply depots are very awesome. They're very cool, and once they die, they leave a very large supply hole in your food count. So be careful with these. They're wonderful, but they make a nice, fat, juicy target. Granted, we have essentially killed off all of his troops, so there's not much supply count to look to. There he goes. Leaving Checkers all alone. Checkers getting some roaches out, that's helpful, especially against what's coming, but unfortunately just 3-on-1 prospects ain't good. Evil, Fronting, and Schmunkle walk in. Finish off Checkers. Once Checkers leaves, that's endgame for the others. As we finish off here, I'd like to check our final incomes. Looks like Schmunkle had his expansion base up. Evil and Hunting still running off the original. Hunting had a mass excess of minerals. These definitely should have been spent. Game could have been over about 2-3 minutes earlier. I'd like to thank everybody for watching this Evil strategy session. I do hope that once patch 13 has been corrected, we'll be able to get our mini-map back and enjoy our strategy sessions a bit more. If you have any requests for strategy sessions, please feel free to leave a comment, and I'll be glad to do what I can. Thank you.